economic hardship has worsened in the last 1 year. Looking, of course, maybe we would say the last few months in the year of 2023, we're still trying to understand what's going to happen with the Tinubu-led administration. Maybe there was a residue of the Buhari-led administration there, but here in 2024, we've seen different kinds of experiences. Nigerians are asking, is cash scarcity now synonymous to the Yuletide season? And that's a question we need to answer. POS operators are saying they buy their monies from market women from filling stations and not even from the banking halls, who are now accused of giving out 5,000 naira and 10,000 naira over the counter. And I was having a conversation with someone yesterday who was expressing the fact that sometimes right in your presence as you stand, someone else comes and they dole out 500,000 naira to this person when they just told another person on the queue that there was no money available. And we're beginning to see that uprising of agitations in banking halls. For instance, how are the bank unreached doing at this point? So you see that people travel out of their villages and their communities and come to the city centers with the hope of being able to withdraw money to spend for a period of time. Remember also that transportation is on the high. So for instance, I have to come from Oron if there is no bank in my area and I come to Uyo to withdraw. I will spend an average of 6,000 to 7,000 naira on that transportation. And when I get to a banking hall, I am told that what I can be paid over the counter is 10,000 naira. That's an extra 3,000 naira on what I paid as transportation to come to the city center to withdraw. I think at the end of the day, let's also analyze the greed and the inhumane activities of fellow Nigerians against Nigerians. Because first of all, how is Mr. President involved in this? How is this a Tinubu-led problem? How is this a Tinubu-sponsored issue? It's just that there are people in key agencies that should be handling issues as this. What are they doing? These are the agencies that we should be calling. But now, in light of all that is happening, the Association of Senior Banks, Insurance and Financial Institutions have said that the worsening cash shortage across the country is no fault of theirs. That it is the fact that the Central Bank of Nigeria is unable to meet the cash demands of commercial banks. This is what the agency is saying, that this is not their fault. The central bank is unable to meet the financial, the cash demands of commercial banks. President of the association, Olusoji Oluwole, highlighted the dire impact of the scarcity, particularly as the festive seasons are approaching. Now, the send is not something that, this did not end on the brink of the redesign of the Naira, but is continuing to, exacerbate as a result of the CBN being the key providers of cash in the system. But remember that Yemi Kadoso has said time without number that they're supplying enough cash to the deposit money banks.
The problem here is the failure in our institutions. The problem here is the absolute lack of conscience on the part of people who are in charge of our institutions. If the Central Bank of Nigeria, in truth, have actually been able to supply cash to financial institutions, then Yemi Kodaso would have been able to sanction deposit money banks and other financial to Nigerians. Now, as much as we want to go around this conversation and talk about the blames from the deposit money banks and merchant banks and, of course, the Central Bank of Nigeria, at the center of this is that the CBN mandate that gives the CBN the control to regulate the activities of the financial institution has given opportunities and places for the CBN to fine, to sanction, to even shut down the activities of banks when they err as far as their services to Nigerians are concerned. And that throws up the question, Uyai, with all of this that has been happening, it is not in December that we started seeing, cash scarcity in Nigeria. In the last 6 months, it has been a consistent conversation. This is December. It started getting worse in the last 6 months. I think from the month of May, June, July, coming down to December. Now, in all of this month, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the governor has consistently said, look, we have enough money in stock. We have given enough money to the deposit money banks. The last one he said just 2 weeks ago or a week ago was that they have set up a committee or a tax team that will be going around deposit money banks and merchant banks to verify that they have money in their ATM machines, and then they are giving money in the banking halls. From that moment till today, we have not seen one bank official or any financial institution that has been sanctioned by the Central Bank of Nigeria. That they say, oh, we gave you enough money to cater to the needs of the customers that you have. Why have you not done that? Why are you withholding the services from Nigerians? Because we have given you enough money and you are refusing to give that money to Nigerians, you are being punished for it. And Nigerians get to see that, okay, one deposit money bank or one merchant bank has been punished, or a financial institution has been punished, has been sanctioned, the doors shut down, then others will sit up. But as long as the CBN has not taken any punitive measures towards the banking institutions, then absolutely Nigerians are forced to believe that Yemi Kodoso has done absolutely nothing. I mean, and if he has done absolutely nothing as the CBN governor, why then are we crying over what Godwin Emefiele did? Why then are we trying to prosecute Godwin Emefiele? Because it's the same crime that Godwin Emefiele committed that Yemi Kodoso is doing. It's the same thing. Godwin Emefiele went about redesigning the Nigerian currency, and that threw Nigerians into a period of buying the naira, using the naira. Mm-hmm. It threw Nigerians into a period of not having access to your money. It threw Nigerians into a period of not being able to make transactions over the internet. We cannot, as we sit in this country, because of the poor institutional decay, that we don't even have things functioning. We don't even have the statistics of the actual number of Nigerians who lost their life within that period. And now, within the last 6 months, we're talking about the same thing. One excuse offered by the Central Bank of Nigeria, a counter, comment coming from the deposit money bank, no punitive actions being taken. Now, for an institution whose sole mandate, whose responsibility it is to monitor, ensure strict compliance by these financial institutions, one would expect that if they are not meeting up with the needs of Nigerians, if they're offering poor services to Nigerians, the central bank should have sanctioned the institutions that now. I think it was in one of the newspaper headlines yesterday, we talked about that. I think OPay and one other financial institution, the new generation of the fintechs, were being fined to the tune of 2 billion naira by the Central Bank of Nigeria. I saw that story and I asked myself, why are these ones being fined? Whereas the actual deposit money banks that Nigerians use every other day and are supposed to have access to money are doing all sorts of illegalities, or all sort of poor service delivery, and the Central Bank of Nigeria is just sitting down, folding his arms and watching things play out.
Well, there's a lot of concern that we see here because, the president of the Association of Senior Bank and Financial Institutions has said that basically deposit money banks get their monies two ways, either from the Central Bank of Nigeria, as it were, in their circulation of the naira, or from retailers. And now the issue with retailers are that these retailers are not even forthcoming with cash anymore, right? So the retailers that even, these banks even depend on are not bringing money forward. And in their opinion, you cannot force a retailer to bring money forth to the banks. And in the same case, some retailers are now trying to sell money to these institutions at a higher, pay. Now, remember that the selling of the naira in any way you look at it is an illegal activity which should be punishable by the law. That is meant to be the standard. Now, the Bankers Association is talking about the fact that on an average, from the CBN alone, deposit money banks will need at least 20 million naira daily to operate, with the ATMs taking about 8 million of that money and about 4 million needed over the counter. Now, in the statistics, this is what they say they need daily. It therefore means that if they're being honest in these reports that they're giving us in this response to what's going on in Nigeria, it therefore means that the central bank is either underserving the deposit money banks with how much money is circulated. On the other hand, if the central bank says they're giving enough money to these deposit money banks, the issue would now be provide us with statistics and data of how much you are sending out and how you are circulating this money to these deposit money banks, as it were. We can't just keep having the conversation. We need to get to a point in Nigeria where we are talking with numbers and clear data, because we also expect as a people that the Central Bank of Nigeria is one of the institutions of government at this point that has come up to be grossly digitalized. So there should be enough data that is, informing what transactions is going on in the sector every day, instead of trying to micromanage what's going on financially in the country with jargons in the name of English. This is a major problem that we need to face, and it's becoming a problem. So we can't make POS operators the scapegoats in this, because if the POS operator, who is in this for some profit margin because of the operations that they do not see money from the banks to operate, that's why they have now created, there is now a new business, what would I call it, business gap, where you go to the supermarket and the filling station, because the organization is saying that police should go ahead to arrest those that are buying money and selling money from the supermarkets and the likes. If Nigerians don't get money from banks, are they not going to find other alternatives? We're also having the conversation of move the economy from a cash dependent one to a cashless society. Is the Nigerian banking system even ready to be a cashless society? I mean, we're not only talking about cash scarcity. Look at the fact that our mobile banking apps are not reliable. The USSD codes, the worst of them all. So if we're and remember, even talking about the USSD code, you remember that between the banks and the telcos, there is a conversation of how much are we earning, and then we are looking at in 2025, do we want to increase what the payment for these transactions are? So there's a lot of back end issues that is grossly affecting the financial sector. If you now say that Nigeria should learn and embrace the era of being a cashless society, we do not have the infrastructure in our financial sector to do that. Recently, the entire nation was thrown into a financial blackout because deposit money banks said they were updating their platform.
And they're still updating.
Yeah, and the promise was that once that happens, we'll all be having a seamless experience. But I don't think that's the case.
They're still updating. They're not done updating. I mean, I know you've done one or two transactions within the week, and you must have seen how the network is. Mm-hmm. I have done a transaction since Monday. Today is Thursday. It left my account. It hasn't gotten to where it was supposed to go to.
And this becomes a problem. Sometimes these monies are not returned. And then if you even get to the social media space, you're going to see how Nigerians are reacting. I was seeing a particular report of a certain bank where someone was debited of over 400,000 naira from his account. Mm-hmm. Now, this was not a transaction that he initiated. So, and then he talked about the fact that he kept going to the bank to complain, not until the case was now brought to social media, where you tag the bank and complain. Then someone now, tries to respond, oh, we do apologize for this, and we're looking into the case immediately. What happens to you attending to it when, it was supposed to be done? So, at the end of the day, you have raised a lot of arguments about the activities of Yemi Kadaso, and I think it should be addressed accordingly. In recent times, we've seen the House of Representatives say we send out invitations to some agencies and they do not honor it to come and answer questions. Yemi Kadaso and co., I still say again, the leaders, managers, and the owners of deposit money banks should all be put in a room and let's have a conversation of which way we are going. This is geared towards the Yuletide season. I don't know how we're going to do it. Talking of cashless policy, I don't know how many people you think that sell in the market that have bank accounts. Or if I want to jump keke na pep, I will now say, bros, where's your POS machine? I pay you. Like, I have a 200 naira journey to take, but I remember that every time I swipe my card, I'm being charged. So every card swipe and every e-transaction also costs us something. Is that really how we want to live in this country? I don't think we are ready, Francis.
Well, it is a problem because we as Nigerians we're not ready.
I think that's our revelation of the week.
No, seriously, we're not ready, and I'm saying that because the same dragging that happens on the internet with every sense of being mothers. I think Nigeria has gotten to a point where bankers and people within institutions are too arrogant to understand that when you sit to offer service, your priority should be the person you're serving and not you. So you walk into a banking hall where you have put your hard-earned money and somebody sat somewhere and took your money, and you're making complaint to the customer service and they're acting like they are some demigods and you're just trash walking in to disturb their life. And then because...
And that no matter how small they think your money is, it's not that until my money is millions I can make less.
That is even a different conversation. And then because Nigerians don't understand their rights, Nigerians don't understand that when you walk into somebody's establishment, you are the king or the queen that needs to be served. So these individuals sit on this other side and think like, who are you? Why should I be standing up to serve your needs? And then the Nigerian who is on the other side of the divide doesn't know he's all right. We start begging, Madam, please, Madam, please, I have been coming, I am still coming. And then the persons, it gets to their head and the pride and their ego and everything just sets in. And they forget that how they are being paid is because of the transactions that you make. They forget that how they are even able to provide for their families, to live the life they are living, to put on the clothes they are wearing, to just eat on a daily basis is because of the transactions that you are making. Whether it's from 50 naira for as low as 23 naira, for as low as 10 naira that they are being charged on a daily basis, that is how they are being paid. So it comes down to Nigerians knowing their right. I know some persons might think at this point, it's like violence is the only solution that most people would understand. Because there is literally no time you drag a bank on the social media that issue wouldn't be resolved within 7 days. In fact, sometimes faster than that. And then that would make you to ask the question, what happened that before now I had to go to the bank and I kept being told, oh, okay, if it's in an Akwa Ibom state, they'll tell you, oh, Lagos has not attended to it. We sent an email out last week. The first day you went complaining, say, fill the form. Okay, we have sent an email out. Come back in 2 weeks. You go back in 2 weeks. Lagos has not responded to that email. Oh, please come back in another 2 weeks. And then you go back after 2 weeks. Madam, I was here 2 weeks ago. You asked me to, let me check. That's the time they go to fiddle with the system. Oh, I'm sorry. Some don't even use the word I'm sorry. They just tell you, Lagos has still not responded to the email yet. Go and come back. And it is the arrogance and the insensitivity in their voices and on their faces that, I don't know, sometimes you step into an environment and you wish like you had a magic wand to just weave it around and teach some people some bitter sweet lessons that when they wake up from that lesson, they will learn to treat the next person right. But all of this would not have happened if we had functional institutions in place. All of this would not happen if the Central Bank of Nigeria, as a regulatory system or the regulating body, did their job and were committed to doing their job on a daily basis. But like I said, it is left for Nigerians to know that at the end of the day, you are left to fend for yourself. So if somebody is sitting on your money in any of the banks, if somebody has stolen your money from any of the banks, it is not for you to go and beg. It is time for you to take action. I said it the last time, I think sometime in May or June. don't get to the point of suing financial institutions for stolen monies from our account, it will not stop. Until we get to that point where somebody loses 100,000, sues the bank, and the bank is not able to not just pay the 100,000 naira, but pay damages that person incurred.
And then you do it for several customers.
For several customers. Until we get to that point in Nigeria, the financial institutions will not change. Because one of the most corrupt sector is the financial institution.
And we can't actually keep absolving the blame, because now in the conversation we're just having now, it looks like, you know, the brunt of the blame is on the Central Bank of Nigeria. If you say the CBN is not supplying you enough money, okay, what are you doing with the percentage that is being circulated, you know, to these banks? So it's still a problem.